Another Sunday night fan phone-in show with me, StattoJoe, and the Enigma Luke Sherwin.
Well, dude, see, the problem with Arsenal is they try to walk the ball back of the net. Thanks for having me on again.
No problem. Obviously, it's been quite a dramatic weekend of football stuff. I don't even know what to say, to be honest. I'm speechless after what I saw 2 hours ago. I'm still recovering from the scenes that were that header, but we're going to talk about it a bit later on. We can only start at one place, and that is that tonight is a fan phone-in show. You thought I was going to say about the FA Cup. Oh, no, no. Tonight's a fan phone-in show, so if you have any opinions about football or any questions for us that you want answered, then simply click the link that will be in both chats, both Facebook and YouTube. You're more than welcome to come on. Please be nice to us. Please keep your language PG, all that good stuff. But now we can start with the footballing news. Look, talk us through the FA Cup final yesterday.
Well, to Leicester City won the FA Cup.
Go
Who saw that
on!
coming? Who
Love
saw
it.
that coming? I certainly didn't. I expected Chelsea to win relatively comfortably. Yesterday, Leicester and Chelsea played the FA Cup final at Wembley. What a joy it was to see fans back watching.
Oh,
It was
so
so
good.
good. So many fans, such a great time. The atmosphere was superb. The fans were clearly loving life. And two wonderful footballing teams went out there and played a wonderfully average game of football, um, which was to be expected. It was to be expected that the game wasn't going to be the thriller in Manila like we might have wanted it to be, but it was a decent game. Leicester came away with a victory thanks to a superb goal by Yuri
Oh,
Tielemans, who
stunning.
just banged one top bins. Fair play to the lad. He's a very good player. Good to see him getting appreciated. Good to see him doing well because he had crazy potential. It's nice to see that he's starting to live up to that.
I've always loved Tielemans. He's
Me
great.
too.
He's just superb. But do you know what got me more than anything? Nothing to do with the goal, to be honest. The fact that when he scored the goal, the cameras were rocking because of the celebrations. Remember that that's only a quarter capacity
Yeah.
Wembley Stadium. That's not even full. That's a quarter, and the place was bouncing. You absolutely love to see it. I watched. So I watched the game. I saw the game on BBC. So I saw that commentary, and then I watched the BT Sport highlights to get that commentary. And
Yeah.
honestly, for me, the BT Sport commentary of it was so much better than BBC's because
Yeah.
Robbie Savage was like, "Ah!" like when the goal went in. It was
Absolutely.
superb, and I don't have any. I didn't. It wasn't that I didn't care who won this game, but I don't have anything against either team. But I was delighted for Leicester. I really was. Brendan Rodgers and Johnny Evans, two of our boys. You know, it was just so great to see. And what a goal to win a cup final as well. Like, oh, it's unreal. So good, so good.
Absolutely. So, Joe, what you're telling me is that your Luke Sherwin slash Statue Joe man of the match performance came from the fans. Is that what you're
Yeah,
telling me? It
yeah.
was nice. Well, for me, my Luke Sherwin man of the match performance in the actual game of football was the fans as well. Yeah, you didn't see that coming.
Yeah!
Yeah. I actually, my favorite part of the whole thing was the celebration that the Leicester owner had with the players afterwards. I don't know if you saw that, those highlights after, but the Leicester owner, who obviously tragically had lost his dad in the helicopter crash and everything like that, surrounding Leicester, which was awful. And he's taken over and he has continued the support that the fans get from the owners and the players get from the owner as well. And the way he was being hugged by all the players and the way he was getting on with all the players, it was so nice to see in the midst of all of the European Super League stuff where owners are being shown to be impersonal, money grabbing scoundrels is the word I'll use. And this was so touching to see a fan effectively as an owner who was loving life, and all the players knew him and all the players loved him. The way he hugged Brendan Rodgers Ooh, tugged in the heartstrings.
I also really loved, and this is the thing that we haven't seen this season because of there being no fans, but the fact that whenever the Chelsea goal was given offside, the Leicester fans celebrated like they just scored a goal. And it
Absolutely.
was like, oh, it was so, I don't know, just give you goosebumps. Like watching it back, even was just like, it's, you don't realize what you're missing until you like see it properly. And the atmosphere was so good. And of course, you'd hope for that whenever there haven't been fans in. Obviously, of course you would. But yeah, I think just, uh, just incredible stuff.
In a
And
game of this magnitude, it was great because the
mhm,
fans were so hyped up. The Leicester fans, especially, they haven't been in this position in recent history in terms of
mhm,
cup finals. Obviously, they won the league. That was a more prolonged thing, but also you might remember when Jamie Vardy scored that goal, and there was a low key earthquake registered because of how loud the fans were.
mhm.
Leicester fans are doing themselves proud by showing that they love this club and winning their first FA Cup in history in their long history as a football club. It was great to see the fans there to celebrate with them.
And I think that that distracted from what was at times a pretty poor game. I don't really mean to be judgy there, but like FA Cup finals aren't usually amazing games. Finals aren't usually amazing games anyway because both teams have so much to lose, right? Usually in a final, you know, there's sometimes you get finals where there's teams there who have fluked their way there and they kind of have nothing to lose, right? They weren't expected to be there. They just want to go out and give it their best. But in this position, you had third against fourth in the Premier League. Um, and it was like almost you had everything to lose in that situation, right? And I think it was a cagey game. There weren't that many chances, even in you know going through the highlights again today just to refresh myself. There weren't really that many chances. Um, I mean, like you know it's bad whenever in the highlights they're showing like blocked shots as chances. Do you know, like that's
Yeah,
you know, but Kasper Schmeichel ultimately is nearly just as good, or has like earned as much as my respect as Tielemans did yesterday because that save from Mason Mount's half volley was that was just unbelievable. Wasn't that so good?
it
Like,
was lovely. But Kasper Schmeichel, all things considered, only had 3 saves to make in the whole
mm,
game. So fair play to him for staying alert enough to be able to save that so well. But 3 shots in the whole game from Chelsea. We saw a performance from Chelsea that was largely similar to the performance against Arsenal midweek.
mm.
Performance in which they dominated most of the game, had way more chances, and yet only had 3 on target. The problem with Chelsea is they can't put the ball into the back of the net, Joe. They can't score a goal from open play, it seems. What's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know. I've just shared there the screen for stats because I'm going to get into that, but just I do remember noticing that with only 3 shots, there was only 4 shots on target in the whole game. Leicester had one shot on target, that was their goal. Um, yeah, I think it's clear, or it certainly has been clear that Tuchel's job when he came in has been to really like keep the defense solid.
Yeah,
Um, and I think that he hasn't. I think whenever this season finishes and we get into pre-season again, I think that's when we're going to see a difference in the attack because when he was at PSG weren't a defensive side, right? It's they weren't playing defensive football. His job has been to come in and really shore up that defensive mishaps or difficulties that they had under Frank Lampard, and he's done that really well. To be fair to him, you can't take it away from him. They only conceded yesterday because of an absolute screamer. You know,
yeah,
you're never really gonna go that was crap defending because it wasn't. Like sorry, it was good defending. It wasn't crap defending. That's what I mean. That was a double negative there.
yeah, agree.
But like looking at the stats here, and I'll share the screen while we're kind of chatting about the stats and things. You can see that Chelsea really did kind of dominate the majority of the game as expected. You know, Leicester were always going to sit back because they're the underdogs. They do not have, and I mean this with the greatest respects, they don't have an all-star team, right? I think the stat was that their team was worth 180 million. I think that was the thing they were putting out was that their whole 11 had cost 180 million. whereas Chelsea, like Werner was he 50 million by himself, and Ziyech was close to that, and Kante, so like Chelsea's team was much more expensive overall,
It
and
was.
even the bench. So in terms of resources, Leicester didn't have anywhere near the level of resources that Chelsea have. So it was always going to be a one-sided game, right? That was always going to be the plan, I think. Um, do you have any kind of thoughts on the way that both teams set up? Just looking at these formations here
Yeah.
on screen.
Yeah, Chelsea set up as everyone expected to, with almost an identical formation as everyone expected them to. Although very surprised to see Marcos Alonso starting. I thought that was a weird decision from Tuchel, because I think Ben Chilwell, as he showed when he came on, would have been a much better player to play, unless he had a wee knock or something that was
Hmm.
keeping him from playing 90 minutes. Ben Chilwell, in my mind, starts this game all day, every day.
Hmm.
Um, Picking Kepa was nice because it was consistent, and maybe that was the same um, with Marcos Alonso, that
Hmm.
it was a cup thing. But all in all, I don't think it was very good. I don't think it was a wise decision from Tuchel. Yes, it's nice, but he's there to win matches, not give favour to these players like Kepa, who's been pretty dreadful, all things considered. Especially
Hmm.
considering Kepa played against Arsenal. I don't get it.
Hmm.
Um, Reece James and Azpilicueta playing works sometimes, but when it doesn't, it looks a wee bit silly. Azpilicueta, though, is good as a centre back. But for a front three, they didn't show up. None of them showed up at all. All three of them were poor, which is sad because Mason Mount is so good. I just
Hmm.
wonder, should Pulisic have started instead of Ziyech? Probably.
Hmm.
Werner had to play, but I think Pulisic should have as well. And from a Leicester standpoint, we see a team in which we've discussed a few times in the podcast. Two strikers doesn't work for Leicester. It
Nope.
hasn't worked. They don't play well together. And
Hmm.
here we saw another example of that. Leicester did not play well in any way. By any stretch of the imagination, we cannot give Leicester credit for playing well in this game, because
No.
they didn't. But they got the
No.
result, and ultimately that's all that
That's
matters.
all that matters. Yeah.
But the way that they played was not nice. It was not stylish. Was not particularly effective at times in going forward, but defensively did their job. A super game from Wesley Fofana. You love to see it. Gutted for Johnny Evans, having to come off early. But yeah, Leicester did their job. One player who really disappointed me was Hinacho up front.
Hmm.
Deserved his space, absolutely, by how he's been playing. But as they rightly mentioned on commentary, he looked like a player who'd been up all night dreaming or daydreaming about scoring the winning goal, naming headlines, back page of the papers. He was thinking about it. He was leggy. He was slow. What do you think, Jim?
So when I saw the Chelsea team, my first reaction was they're playing a cup team. Because I didn't think that was a full strength 11. Um, they had stronger players on their bench. And I was kind of surprised because I thought, well, maybe they want to win the cup. And then I thought about it more and I thought, actually, does Tuchel put more importance on Tuesday night's game rather than the FA Cup final?
Yeah,
Because that's ultimately just as big. Tuesday night's game's pretty much just as big as Sunday's game was. Um, Werner continues to disappoint. Um, I don't know if Mount had as bad a game as a 6.2, but yeah, I think the Leicester team was a standard Leicester team. As a Newcastle fan, delighted for Jose Perez winning the cup as well. To be honest,
yeah,
he was fantastic for us, and delighted for him that he's gone and won a trophy. Because if you're a fan of any club that really don't produce a lot of, you're not winning things. If any of your great players go on to clubs and win a trophy, you're always going to be delighted for them. They went and found success, so I'm really pleased for them. If we quickly look at the stats, just overall, possession wise, as expected, Chelsea had 63% of the ball. They had double the shots that Leicester had, 13-6. Chelsea only managed 3 shots on target, Leicester only managed one, so that's particularly poor. But it's kind of a cup final stat. You really don't get that many shots on target in cup finals because the games are far too cagey. I
they
think
are.
that's shown by blocked shots. There's 8 blocked shots out of 19, and I think that shows the caginess of the games. The defenders are very tight and they're preventing shots from even reaching the goal. Apart from that, really, no big chances in the game. So that's really interesting. Not a single big chance. Um, and passing wise, fairly decent from Chelsea, 85%. Leicester, KG, 74%. Disappointing, but they still won the game. So does anybody actually care? Probably not.
Probably
Um,
not. To be expected as well with the players that we're playing with Ndidi, Tielemans, and Perez as your three in midfield. They're not master passers of the ball. Tielemans has a great mind on him, great vision, looking for killer passes over to Jamie Vardy, more than looking for a simple 1-2 pass and building the stats up.
So that's kind of the stats breakdown from that. Before we move on to the Premier League, do you have any final thoughts about this or what this means for Leicester and Chelsea coming into Tuesday night's game or anything like that?
I think it's a great achievement for Leicester. Like, no doubt their fans will be buzzing. No doubt they'll be loving life. But Leicester probably will be the more tired team on Tuesday night.
Mm.
Chelsea have such good squad depth that they could rotate a few players. Ben Chilwell will come in, Mendy will come in, maybe Christensen might come in, and then attack wise, Pulisic could come in, and they've got a lot of fresh legs that they can use. I think Chelsea have a slight advantage in that sense, but Leicester have heart, as always, and they will
Mm-hmm.
fight and fight to the very end. I do expect Chelsea to win, which will probably mean that Chelsea and Leicester will stay in the top four, which I'm not complaining about. I know you won't be, but
Mm.
we will see.
So this is where it's interesting. So I also agree. I think Chelsea will win. However, because Liverpool won today, if they win this week on Wednesday, they'll have the same number of points as Leicester with a greater goal difference. So Leicester will be fifth and Liverpool will be in the top four. So actually, the only result that sees Leicester and Chelsea potentially staying in the top four is a draw, just based on the points. In fact, that's not even true.
No.
Basically, because they play each other, Liverpool are actually in pole position, right? Because they just need to win. They just need to win both their games, and it's Burnley
Easier
and
said
Crystal
than
Palace.
done this season, too, to be
Easier said
fair.
than done, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the West Brom game. But I think actually Liverpool are almost in a better position than Chelsea and Leicester are at the minute with top four. For me, I think that Leicester will be tired emotionally, physically going into the game because on Tuesday night, just because they beat United on Tuesday, which was a massive win, and then they won the FA Cup on Saturday, and then they have to go and play Chelsea again on Tuesday, and Tuchel will be having none of it. So I can't see any result other than a Chelsea win. We'd like to be pleasantly surprised, but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts.
Leicester might be hyped up, though. They know they can beat Chelsea. They know they can sit back and counter-attack and potentially get a goal in that capacity. They know that a victory is possible in a one-off game, and so they'll go in thinking that. Whether they can just get their legs to do that is another question. But I am
Mm.
hopeful that it'll be a good game nonetheless. I would like a better game than yesterday, a more exciting game, but a game that is, yeah,
Mm.
close.
And then that brings us on nicely, really, into today's game because with top four ramifications, Liverpool travel to already relegated West Brom, who have nothing to play for. So therefore, usually the teams that have nothing to play for tend to play better because they don't have the shackles of the pressure. So it's always going to be a tough game. Um, and as the headline says here, a late Alisson header gives Liverpool hope. Yes, you're reading that correctly. Um, Liverpool's goalkeeper Alisson, if you've somehow missed the news, scored a 95th minute winning header in a game that ultimately, yes, Liverpool deserved to win, but showed again that they really, really struggle whenever teams sit back and allow them to come at them. Um, I don't. I would be see if I was a Liverpool fan, I would have lost my head watching that game today. I really would have. The front three are so frustrating.
I would argue that Liverpool didn't deserve to win this game.
Oh.
because I personally think West Brom should have been 2-1 up
Yep.
because that VAR decision was questionable. Questionable to
Yeah.
say the least. It was, yes, by the letter of the law, potentially the correct decision, but also probably not the right decision.
Hmm.
I thought Liverpool, yeah, had lots of the ball. They did Liverpool things. They passed it around. They played boring football and they made a few chances. They had a lot of shots, yes, but they had 20 shots not on target.
Yeah.
They might be off target, they might be blocked. I don't care what it is. But when your team has 20 shots off target, that's shocking. That is so, so poor. 20. That's like how many certain teams get in like 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
Really bad. And so I thought Liverpool, yeah, they dominated the game largely, but West Brom, in my opinion, deserved to be 2-1 up going into the last 10 minutes of this game.
Yeah. I mean, fair. I think. uh, So Liverpool, there was a couple of times there was a chance in the first half. They played basically like 1-2 football past their defence, and Mane hit it wide. Um, Trent had a great chance where he cut in on his left foot and then skied it when he just had to pass it into the net. There's just I don't know. It's such a weird thing because like again, I come back to the statement I said on Thursday where if you're not beating these teams, you don't deserve Champions League football. And I actually heard a Liverpool fan say that today, so I felt okay about saying that out loud because there was Liverpool fans saying that. But I think we'd be talking very differently if this had been a 1-1 draw. And I think we can't then take away from the fact that Liverpool's goalkeeper has like is more clinical than their front three when
That's
it comes
true.
to shots. An unbelievable header, by the way. Like not even just like the keeper scored. He scored a fantastic header that anybody would be proud of. Like any defender, striker, midfielder, anybody would be proud of that header. Like that was just
Absolutely.
technique,
It's a
absolute
great ball
technique.
in by Trent, and
Yeah.
then a great header by Alisson. Really liked his wee interview at the end, just chatting through what he was thinking. Nobody really beckoned him up, but then he got the call last minute with conviction, as he says. He
Yeah.
ran up and he was ready. But West Brom didn't mark him. I think the players almost panicked. They were like, "There's another player here. We haven't accounted for this guy. Nobody's man marking him." But they probably should have, and they gave him so much free space. I would have laughed so hard if Nat Phillips had have actually got connection on the ball and it had have just gone wide like it would have done. He was so close to hitting the ball.
Mm,
But hey, what a goal by Alisson. Fair play to the guy. Lovely to see his first career goal. Now he's on track, to beat Brad Friedel or whatever for
mm.
record Premier League goals.
Yeah, it was a weird game. So I had it on while I was studying today, just kind of on the background. And like Liverpool, and the stats would say Liverpool had like 76% possession or something stupid. It was ridiculous. And I've talked about this multiple times, not just in the podcast, but on any previous YouTube videos that I've done about how I started this page at the very start of January. The first game I covered was Southampton beating Liverpool 1-0. And I said then, and that was the first video I think I ever did, I said that I noticed straight away that when Liverpool play teams that sit back, right, happy to park the bus, they really, really struggle to break those teams down. And I'm serious, that's got nothing to do with your injured centre backs, right? That's a lack of there's like something's not clicking up front, something's not there, and um, it's strange because this isn't me ragging on Liverpool because it's Liverpool. This is like it'd be like the same as any team. There's other teams who are just as poor up front as Liverpool have been this season, but with it's just strange that when they went on that really horrendous run and they lost to Fulham and Brighton and Burnley, the reason they lost to those teams was because those teams just sat back and were like, well, you're crap up front, so come on and, try it. Try it. You're rubbish. So it's interesting. And you were saying about their shots 26 shots a goal and only six on target um, is appalling, really. And I think West Brom had a better shot on target rate than that, didn't they?
Yeah. No, well,
Three shots on target
yeah.
from 10 shots, so that is a better, not it's still rubbish, but it's a better rate than Liverpool's.
I think
Um,
Liverpool's issue is that they have one way of attacking and they know how to do that really, really well.
mhm,
But when they can't do that, they can't do anything.
mhm,
You saw it briefly, actually, for Salah's goal, which is ironic in me saying this, but for Salah's goal, it epitomized everything that Liverpool cannot do when attacking. Mane tried to play intricate play with Firmino, but pinged it far too hard at him. Firmino
mhm,
miscontrolled it, went to a West Brom player. West Brom player then plays a terrible ball, and Mane's able to nip in and lay it kind of just to Salah, who scores an absolute worldie, a goal that was unexpected, but a goal with so much quality. And that, for me, epitomised everything Liverpool can't do. They can't pass it around the box with their front three because not, technically the three of them just aren't good enough. Their vision isn't good enough and everything like that. They need to get better at that to add some variety into their attack so that they can, change what they're going to do whenever they come up against a team like this that's going to sit back and just hoof the ball away.
mhm. Yeah, I think that's a fair observation. I just it's weird. It's strange. Obviously, it's a strange season. Here we go, flipping pundit here. So it's a strange season. But I think all Liverpool fans have high hopes for next season, and I think that's totally fair because I think with their players coming back, they're going to have their full starting 11. Um, and you know, Salah seems to only score great goals, um,
Great
which is
player.
so weird, isn't it? Like he only
He
scores
reminds
good
me of
goals.
myself, to be fair.
Well, that's true, but we didn't want. I didn't want to, inflate your ego too much here. Um, Sam Curry says he agrees with you, Luke, which is nice that people finally agree with you after Thursday night's mess. Um, front three are excellent for counter attack, but not really for tiki taka consistently in the box. Agreed. There was some good interplay at times, but that's so true. Another point I want to bring up just before we move on. Um, United afforded Liverpool a lot of space on Thursday night, and we saw glimpses of the old Liverpool in that game. And it's what went back to saying about um, they have that one style of play that they know and love that they're really really good at, and I think that's been the problem as well with their squad. Their squad depth isn't enough. They have those one set of 11 players that they know and love, and then outside of that, they don't have that same impact. Um, But yeah, the next two games will be interesting because they play Burnley next. And I'll tell you right now, Burnley will be sitting as deep in their 18-yard box as possible because they'll want to try and get another win over them. I think
Except
everybody wants to
Burnley
try and
also
beat
have
Liverpool.
Chris Wood. That's a big issue. Like they have a
Yeah.
player who actually is going to challenge those 2 weak centre backs, and
Mm,
he will, be physical with them. He'll be looking for big balls over the top. He'll be loving life against those two centre backs, and so Burnley, will intrigue me because yes, they were awful against the Leeds team who are
mm.
unpredictable, but against a team like Liverpool who are very predictable at times. I think Burnley will sit back and frustrate the life out of Liverpool.
And Sam's mentioned Firmino here. He says Firmino is the only one that has good ball control and flair in the box. One isn't enough scared for Burnley, but I'm not really sure what that means in English. But
It means one of the three being good
oh,
with
isn't
the ball
enough.
control isn't
Okay,
enough. Full stop. Scared for Burnley.
sorry. Yes, fair. But I actually saw a lot of people criticising Firmino today because they felt that he gave the ball away too much. Um, I mean, I personally feel like Firmino would be better at cam or in that position than a forward. But here we are. It's a system that Klopp knows and loves, and
Yeah.
it does look very much like uh, Champions League is coming forward. Sam says I'll make a good teacher with that terrible grammar. Sam, we believe in you. We know you'll do a great job. Just learn to get good at grammar. Um, so carrying on from that, then and a lot of the games, you know, there's not much to play for anymore, really. Unless you're in that top four battle, you're just kind of playing games for the fun of it. And we saw that on Friday night when Man City had already won the league, travelled to Newcastle, and the two teams just thought, you know what, let's just enjoy ourselves. Let's just enjoy life. Um, Newcastle, first of all, have scored 7 goals in the last 2 games, which I can't remember a time in my life that's happened. Um, let's forget that we lost 4-3. Let's focus on the fact that we scored 3 goals. Um, yeah, the shock is still in my system, as Undisputed Era would say, and it's. I wasn't disappointed by the result because I never thought we'd even get a result against City. So I was really surprised to see the way that Newcastle approached the game. Um, they took it to them, and I know it was like a Man City seconds and thirds team, but that's not really the point.
Look, it wasn't really, though. It was a decent enough Man City team, apart from their two centre backs. Other than that, it's pretty strong.
Still
Newcastle
Carter.
played like a team. Newcastle who knew they were safe.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was refreshing to see. They knew that they weren't going to get relegated anymore. The pressure, as you said earlier, with teams that are already relegated, the same applied here. And
Mm.
Newcastle played like a team. They're like, let's give this a go. Why not? Like, we could sit back and lose 4-0. We could sit
Mhm.
back and get a 0-0 draw. Where's the fun in that? These are footballers who love playing football. They enjoy what they're doing. And here I thought they showed that quite well. Joel Linton was even getting in on the action. The only players who played terribly were, Fernandez at the back was awful, and Dubravka wasn't great either. From a City standpoint, I think it's concerning looking at Nathan Ake, how poor he's been in the last few games that he's played. He hasn't been a good defender in either of those games. It will happen because he's not playing very much football, and there's inconsistency there. But yeah, I feel for him.
Sam makes a great point, and this is something I actually touched on Thursday night. He was saying that or maybe it was last Sunday, he said that Man City, the depth of two title contending teams. I said that last week about the Chelsea game. Like, they played pretty much not a lot of their regular first 11, and I said they would beat most teams in the Premier League. Um, I've just looked at the stats, and actually, Sab says Newcastle, so think Newcastle were impressive. Newcastle had, and I'm not joking, 17% of possession. 17%. I think that must be like a record low for the season. They had 17% possession, but had 11 shots at goal. So, like, that's great. At least if you're. This is the thing I've always had a problem with, and people are like, "Oh, Newcastle fans just get angry at Steve Bruce because it's Steve Bruce." My main issue with the way that we were playing was we would play that same possession game, but then when we had the ball, we'd be useless. And a lot of the time, and I always bring up Jamal Lewis as an example because I knew him from both international and club football. So internationally, he gets the ball and he looks forward, right? And anytime he got the ball when he started, he would get the ball and then instantly look to go back. And I just thought, no, that's not in his game. He's clearly been coached that or told that or something. Um, but yeah, he came on for like 6 minutes on Friday night, just to shore things up defensively. But in terms of the actual game, Newcastle actually scored first, went 1-0 up from a corner. Then Cancelo scored to make it 1-1. Then Ferran Torres scored to make it 2-1. Then there was a late dramatic penalty, which Joe Linton scored. So it was 2-2 at half time. And then we had a mental 4 minutes. Willock scored. He missed a penalty but scored from the rebound uh, to make it 3-2 to Newcastle. And then Ferran Torres scored his second and third of the night in the space of like 120 something seconds. And City won the game 4-3. A great spectacle. Two teams who have nothing to play for anymore because City have already won the league. Newcastle are already safe. I think you just kind of love to see when two teams just go out and have a good game. Like, you've got nothing else to play for. Do you know what I mean? Just go out and enjoy yourselves.
You absolutely do. And I really, I love Ferran Torres after this game. I come away
Nice.
thinking he's a young player who's exciting to watch. He's a young
Mm-hmm.
player who scored a Matty Burrows-esque goal for the first one. It
Oh,
was
that guy.
lovely. It was such a nice finish. He
Mm-hmm.
adjusted his feet so well, got there, hit the ball so weirdly in today's standard of the games, like it was not clean in any way, but it was so clean at the same time. It was
Mhm.
such a nice goal, and Ferran Torres is good. Um, modern games is so much counter-attacking so many counter-attacking teams means it doesn't always reflect how well a team is playing. Some teams are happy to defend. You're
Mhm.
absolutely right, but very few teams do that well at the same
Yeah,
time. Very few teams can win the league with 20% possession in every game. It's just not
yeah.
going to happen. But yeah, Ferran Torres, great player. If I was to pick a man of the match, which I'm not going to because I would only ever pick one every night, can't have too many players playing on a cold wet Tuesday night in Stoke. If I was to pick one, it would probably be Ferran Torres.
And I think as well, I just need to mention again, Joe Willock scoring again, fifth game in a row now. Do I worry that we won't be able to buy him now because Arsenal will be asking for too high a price? Yeah, absolutely. I know that Joe Willock loves Newcastle. He said it time and time again that he loves being at the club, feels really at home there. I think he's really enjoying that he's getting first team football and having an impact, um, which is fantastic, obviously. And yeah, I don't think we're going to get him now. I really don't. I think Arsenal might keep him, or they might ask for a higher price because he's been playing too well for Arsenal to be like, yeah, you can have him for 20 million. We'll probably ask for at least 40.
Well, they got rid of Iwobi for 30 million to Everton a few years back, and I was surprised by that because I thought they valued Iwobi quite highly. But I think
Mm,
it all depends on what happens with Arteta. Arteta doesn't really seem to rate Willock too much, but he does at the same time. But I think he looks at the likes of Emil Smith Rowe and thinks that's what a number 10 should be for a team like Arsenal. And
mm,
you look at Joe Willock and you see technically how bad he is at times and how
mm,
his vision isn't always great, his passing isn't always great, his determination, his work rate, superb. And he will get up and he will score a goal. He missed the penalty because technically he's not that great.
mm.
And he scored a rebound with it, which is fine. But I don't think he's of the caliber of Arsenal. But I would agree with you in that they probably will ask a ridiculous asking price because
Yeah,
one, it's Arsenal, and two, he's a young English player.
yeah, it's a shame. It's almost a shame he's played as well as he has. Like, selfishly, if he'd played well, but like not outstandingly, we probably would have had a chance of getting him. But I just don't know now. I just don't know. Um, but look, the last 6 weeks we've seen a different Newcastle. Steve Bruce won manager of the month. People say the Newcastle fan base are toxic. I get that because there is a lot of negativity in Newcastle fan base. Obviously, as a Newcastle fan, I follow quite a lot of like Newcastle fans on Twitter or fan accounts and things, and it is very negative. What I did see this week was on Thursday, these guys said, you know what, Bruce deserved manager of the month last month, and he, we had a great. We went unbeaten in April against teams that we shouldn't really have gone unbeaten against. So like Bruce deserves manager of the month because we had a great month. Still want Bruce out of the club. Still don't think he'll take us forward, which I agree with as well. I don't think he takes us forward, but with fair play. And then again on Friday night, I saw people saying, and I said as well, I would much rather lose a game 4-3, and I've really given it a go, than lose a game 1-0, sit back, just kind of do what a West Brom did against Liverpool today, kind of thing, to an extent, and just kind of let it happen. So I just want to say personally, like, just get it out there that personally, fair play to Steve Bruce. In the last 6 weeks, him and the coaching team have done a really great job. We've stayed up. We've got some really, really important results. Our last two games here against Sheffield and Fulham. Hopefully, we can get a couple of wins there and really put a great ending to our season. Because if that did happen, if we beat Sheffield and Fulham, we'd have only lost one of our last 8 games. I think that would be really, really great. I think it would be a really great thing to end the season on. So that's my emotional Newcastle rant out of the
But
way.
surely then that only means Steve Bruce is more likely to stay.
Depends if we get new owners or not, but yes, there's that as well.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
tough balance. Yeah, it's weird. It's very similar to Tony Pulis at Stoke. Back when we
yeah,
got promoted and we spent a few seasons doing okay in the Premier League, we weren't playing nice football, and there was just a mutual agreement that he would go. It was fine. And then when he left, Mark Hughes came in, and we finished ninth 3 seasons in a row playing nice football. Stoke Alona was a thing for a while when we had more Champions League winners than the rest of the Premier League combined. At a stage, we were playing nice football, and it was good. but then ultimately it came crashing down, and so it's a tough balance in the Premier League of
Mm,
do you want really nice football or do you want Premier League football? Both. We want both. We want the Leicester City, but we can't all
hmm
have
Yeah, but look, it's good that we're safe. I think our run of those like 5 or 6 games unbeaten is what really kept us up. But
it. Absolutely. And Joe, speaking of staying up and people being safe and stuff like that, we'll only briefly touch on yesterday's football because my oh my, what an average day of football in the Premier League yesterday
Friday
was.
night.
It certainly wasn't a super Saturday. Like Leeds Burnley finished 4-0. Great. Leeds did a Leeds. They
Yeah,
scored 4 goals. They'll probably lose 4-0 next weekend. I don't know who they play, but that's just how they do things. Leeds played very well. Burnley played very badly. Neither team had anything to play for. Leeds had slightly more to play for because they're trying to finish in the top half. That's that. Rodrigo scored twice. Good for him. It
mm,
was a one-sided game. Burnley should have scored a couple to be fair, and didn't very well. Southampton beat Fulham 3-1. Is anyone surprised? No, nobody's surprised. Fulham are terrible. Southampton are decent when they show up. Che Adams, happy for him. Glad he will get a chance, hopefully, in the Euros to play well. Simon says, I hope next season we have a race for the title like we do now for top four. Couldn't agree more. I would love to
same.
see the likes of a City, a United, a Chelsea, a Liverpool. I don't think Tottenham and Arsenal will be in that. They might
No,
be. Maybe a Leicester. That would be nice to see them. There's 5 teams potentially who could race for the title. It would be a lovely way to go, like in the Spanish league or in the French league at the moment. And then finally, last game last night was Brighton against West Ham, in which West Ham got a draw.
disappointing result for them.
Really disappointing. I basically wrote them out of Champions League football
Yeah,
contention. I don't think they have a chance now. I just saw an interesting point. Danny Welbeck is out of contract. Would you take him at Newcastle?
I actually think I probably would, because I mean he scored an unbelievable goal against Leeds, and he still has it. And like, so if Callum Wilson was injured, would I feel better about having Danny Welbeck up front than Joe Linton? Probably, yeah.
What about Andy Carroll?
I don't know. He needs to go. He's a joke. He's a waste of space. I think for me, if Danny Welbeck came to Newcastle, I would hope that it would be on a free if he was out of contract, because I wouldn't be paying an awful lot of money for him. I think he'd be a good person to have in your squad. To be honest,
Good squad player. Good squad
good
player.
squad
Six
player.
goals this season, 2 assists. In a Brighton
Get
team
him.
who are notoriously not good at scoring goals.
Yeah.
They're known for wasting chances, having high XG, but not
Mm,
having an actually high output. So I think Danny Welbeck would do a job, and I think Brighton would be silly to let go of him. I think him and Lallana have looked decent together.
mhm.
Neil Maupay just needs to get firing, and Brighton look decent enough. I would like to see Brighton do well next season. Brighton, I think, are one of those clubs that not many people dislike. There's no real reason to dislike them. By the
Don't have
sea,
any.
I'd love to go see a game. By the sea.
You know
Um,
what? If we ever felt like doing like we went to all 20 Premier League clubs in a season. I mean that would be very very expensive, but also Brighton would be nice. You go down there, you get a wee chip, and then you go to the game, and you hope for nice weather, and usually Brighton do have a lot of chances, so it could be an exciting game of football. Brighton never really play much boring football, so let's do it. Look, let's go
let's
next
do it.
year.
Let's
Let's go to
go.
Brighton versus Newcastle.
Great.
And then we'll take in a
Do
Stoke game
we
for
have
you.
to see? Do we have to watch Newcastle in every game? Is that the caveat? Is that we see every team at their ground play against Newcastle? Because if so, I've suddenly changed my mind and I am
No, no. I was just thinking we could go to Brighton. We do one. We could do one game next season. We go Brighton Newcastle, but then we also do a Stoke game. So then we both get our we both get our interest in. So
of course.
that sounds like a great plan. I think what this weekend for me has highlighted, because a lot of the games are a bit like we just need to play these games out. Basically, I'm just so looking forward to the Euros now. Like competitive international football. Oh, so good. And the
Absolutely. It'd
crowds
be
and all.
nice. again today, the first game today was Crystal Palace, Aston Villa. Aston Villa considered their descent into mediocrity without
Mm,
Jack Grealish. Lost 3-2. Benteke, gotta give him credit, has looked really good this last month or so.
mhm.
Is looking more like the player that Liverpool originally signed off Aston Villa. He scored today his first goal against Aston Villa since leaving Aston Villa, so that was
Nice.
nice. Eze looks in a phenomenal player. Wilfred Zaha. It's a very Newcastle situation, isn't it? Crystal Palace. You look at Crystal Palace and you think they've got Benteke, Eze, and Wilfred Zaha up top, and their manager is Roy Hodgson. Could you
But
imagine?
but I feel like they overachieve. Like I feel like as a team, they're consistently staying up with ease, and it's like they've maintained that solidity. They weren't in a relegation fight this year. They never were really in consideration for relegation, and like
But this
they
year
didn't,
was a bit of an anomaly, though. Like,
yeah,
as we said, unprecedented times. But
times
this year
off.
there was three teams who looked like they were going down.
I
And yes, there was some
suppose.
mathematical concern, but all things it considered, it was three teams going down the whole season.
Yeah, yeah.
Crystal Palace should expect more, I think, having been in the Premier League consistently, having got players like that. I think they should be doing better with those three up front and some decent enough players in other positions. I think their fans are clamoring probably for more. Speaking of Zaha, the question says, world class or not, should a top six team pick him up? In my mind, 100% yes. What do you think?
Oh, I love this question because um, he. Uh, so here's the thing. He doesn't carry Palace the same way that Grealish carries Villa, or these players that are too good for their teams carry teams. I just wonder, would Zaha play or perform to a higher standard if he's playing in a team with better players? Would playing in a team with better supporting players uh, allow him to create more chances, score more chances, all that kind of thing? I do think it would be well worth a club picking him up. The issue is that Crystal Palace are putting far too high an asking price for him,
That is the thing. He would be playing for Arsenal right now if they weren't looking 80 million for him.
and
Pepe
he might
would
have.
never have been signed.
And I actually think he would do well at Arsenal. I, I
I think
you
he
know,
would. Because
I
as I
do.
said earlier, the problem with Arsenal is they can't put the ball in the back of the net or they try to walk it in. I think Wilfred Zaha is a direct player.
Mm,
He's got 11 goals this season in the Premier League in 28 games.
that's
Good
good.
turnaround. Two
Yep.
assists, not bad. You look at Jack Grealish in four less games, has 6 goals. So he's not as much of a goal scorer, Grealish, but 10 assists. I think different types of players. Zaha's changed this season to be with Eze there. He doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
to do as much in terms
Yep.
of creativity. He can go a wee bit further forward, take more shots, take more risks in front of goal, and try and score rather than create. And I think that's the main difference. He had more assists in past seasons, and with worse players. Now he's got better players around him. I think he's starting to show that he would be really good. At an Arsenal, at Tottenham, wouldn't be bad alongside Son and Kane. Imagine that as your
Yeah,
front three.
yeah. I think the one thing I will just quickly say about Grealish is he might not get that many goals, and his assists might be like good but not fantastic. Grealish creates a lot of chances that the numbers don't include, right? So Grealish will have been the reason that a chance will have been set up for a goal to have been scored. So I think often Grealish rightly gets a lot of credit whenever his stats don't appear great because he creates space, he takes the ball around players, he does things like that not many players have. And he's so natural on the ball, he's so fluent on the ball, actually, Grealish. Zaha, I think, would do really. I think Arsenal's probably even now Arsenal would be a great fit for Zaha. I just think in that
Yeah.
in that rebuild. So let's Arsenal next season are really going to have to rebuild, like properly rebuild. Right, the project was supposed to be this year. I think you bring in Zaha in the summer at Arsenal. I really do think, and maybe a couple other players. Man, I think he could be great. I do think it'd be great. Sam says that I missed a chat about Liverpool's new striker. You must have done. Um, I mean, we were saying that it's ironic that his goal rate is better than the front three at the minute.
But if you
But
want to hear that chat, feel free to check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify to hear the full length discussion in full podcast form. And we have an
Good to get
intro out
back.
there today where we're discussing our thoughts on Wayne Rooney as a manager for Derby County. Spoilers, I can't stand Derby County. And a wee outro, just get to know us a little bit more. So feel free to check us out on all those platforms. Give us a 5-star review on Apple.
And Sam, you're a good mate. If you have any questions that you'd like us to answer in the podcast, send them through Instagram, all that good stuff, and it'll help us out with the intros and things. So it's all about getting you guys involved at the end of the day.
Joe, just finally, the only thing I want to talk about to end today's show is Tottenham Wolves 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Kane scored. Harry
Yep.
Kane and Mo Salah are going head to head for Golden Boot.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think's going to get it? And how many goals do you think they're going to end up on?
So let me just check. I'm going to just check the fixtures here very quickly because I know that Liverpool play Burnley and Crystal Palace, which actually I don't think favours Salah at all, because Liverpool don't tend to score lots of goals against the smaller teams. And I know that Salah scored today. Let me see here because I'd actually quite like to see who Spurs are playing.
Well,
Spurs
Spurs'
play.
last game of the season is against Leicester.
They play Villa and Leicester. Ooh, I think. I actually think they'll either both get one more each, or one of them only gets one. I'm not too sure if they'll score two. I don't know. It's too hard. It's too. It's are they both? They're both in the same number of goals, right?
They are both on 22 goals at the moment.
So would they
Salah has
share it?
played two more games, but Kane has 13 assists while Salah has 4. And so I believe Kane would win it based on fewer minutes played or fewer
Okay.
games played. Same actually minutes per goal, exactly 132 minutes each per goal, a 0.68 per 90, which I think has gone down significantly for Kane in the last few games. He hasn't been
Mm-hmm.
scoring anywhere near as many goals, especially under Ryan Mason. Um, but I do back Kane to get it. I think he could end up getting a brace against Villa. They're the type of team he'd happily score a
Yeah.
brace or maybe even a hat trick. Whereas Salah, then again, I could also see Salah scoring a hat trick against Burnley. It'll be an interesting thing to see what goes on. Unless Bruno Fernandes gets 6 penalties over the next week, which also wouldn't surprise me. So I guess we'll see. But Tottenham got a comfortable enough victory in the end. There was a couple of chances they should have scored.
Mm-hmm.
Dele Alli and with his new Ronaldinho wild haircut,
His mop.
his mop is phenomenal. But they played well, all things considered. Tottenham looked a pretty solid side with Højbjerg running the thing. He was very good in midfield. Reguilon had probably one of the best games he's played in a Spurs shirt.
His recovery for the second goal, that
Oh,
was
talk
something
about
else.
class. Talk
Mm.
about class. Gareth Bale played well, Ali played well, and Son played well. But one player I just want to end my chatting about Tottenham Wolves on. One player I'd love to shout out is a Wolves player.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, they're number 60. Came on for his debut today on the 82nd minute. Theo Corbinu, Corbinu, or Corbinu, or something like that. Theo Corbinu, a Canadian international, um,
Interesting.
looks a really good player. He looks a
Okay.
really solid player up the top. So look out for him over the years to come because I think he will do a job at Wolves and then hopefully, maybe somewhere else.
Not a Portuguese player.
I know.
What?
That is a weird thing, isn't
That's
it?
so weird.
Very strange, but nice to see all the same. He looks a nice player. He hopefully will do well. It's just I hope he gets some games.
I think it's. I think I just want to look at the Europa League quickly because obviously West Ham and Spurs are on the same number of points. Do sixth and seventh get in this year because Leicester won the FA Cup?
Well, there's a debate. Who really knows? I think it'll mean that fifth and sixth might get in, and I don't know. I don't know because somebody will go in the Europa Conference League. I think the League Cup is potentially Europa Conference League, maybe. No,
Europa
I'm not sure.
Conference League. So it is actually this season. Oh my goodness. Who will qualify for Europa Conference League? Just one English team. The spot will either go to the winners of the Carabao Cup, or if it is already qualified to Champions League or Europa League, to the 6th or 7th place in the Premier League. So it'll go to 7th because City won the League Cup and Leicester won the FA Cup. So 6th will get Europa League because Leicester will already get one of those places.
Yeah.
So interesting. So West Ham. I mean, do you think if West Ham end up in that competition, that Europa Conference League, that they would actually be able to give it a good go?
I don't see why not. Although I don't back them to be overly consistent going forward. If they lose Lingard, especially if he doesn't stay, very similar to Willock, except will probably cost way more than Willock because it's United.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but yeah, why not give it a go? Like, see how it goes. Although, who knows? Maybe they'll lose their last two games and drop off, and Everton or Arsenal could sneak in there.
Well, I'm just looking. Everton have just lost 1-0 to Sheffield United. So
Wow.
at the minute, West Ham and Spurs have the same number of points, 59. Everton have 56.
Do you have the
We
table
go
there?
into the
Do
game. Pardon?
you have the table there? Do you want to stick it on the screen?
Yeah. I'll do that now. Sorry. 1 second. Just let me just get this sorted out.
Thank you, Joe. What a guy. What a guy you are.
There you go.
Lovely.
So
Look at that. Very close between fifth,
really,
really.
this is what we're interested in here. Really, is third, because you've got this race here between these three teams, and then you've got the 6th, 7th, 8th battle. I think Arsenal are too far out really. So yeah, it's interesting because like Spurs have a tough game against Leicester on the final day of the season, which Leicester might have to win to get Champions League.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really, really interesting. I think it's good that we at least have something to look forward to the last game of the season, because it would have been pretty crap if you had everything sorted get going into the last two games of the season whenever fans were allowed back and all that stuff. At least there's something to play for.
Absolutely. It's nice to see.
But Liverpool have been in a great run. They're unbeaten in their last. I think it's even more than 5. Good number of games anyway. But yeah, I think so. United have definitely secured top 4. But this wee battle here, Leicester, Chelsea, and Liverpool is going to be mental, and then this Tottenham, West Ham, Everton battle. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, when we go live on Wednesday, we're going to go live on Wednesday night. Everybody will have played their 37th game, so we'll have even more to talk about going into the final day, and what really our podcast on Wednesday is going to be all about what teams need for results wise on Sunday, all the ramifications on how they do all that stuff.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, thank you so much for tonight's show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, it's been great. It's been great. It's one of those things where like there's stuff's happened, but there's been a lot of filler. There's been a lot of filler in there as well. So I'm glad we're able to get a good show out of it, a good hour-long show. And for those listening on the podcast, hopefully you're able to get everything from the audio and not just, because obviously a lot of the show's visual when you're watching live. But no, it was great again to be on, and we're back again at 10:15, I think, on Wednesday night. Also, I've just realised that I forgot to post that we're going live tonight, so well done me.
Well, a bit late for that. But hey, let's go back on the podcast, everyone, please.
Yeah. But yes, thank you so much for joining me, and look, and have a good week, mate, and see you on Wednesday night. You've frozen on me, but that's grand. You're back now. I just said thank you very much for joining me.
Clearly, I didn't want to hear it.
No, you don't like me enough. But yes, thank you so much. Have a good week, and we will see you in 3 days.
See you then.